Today, we're talking about Final Fantasy X, a game packed with groundbreaking design choices, and one I'm going to walk you through from beginning to end. Let's talk about why this is the game that moved an entire generation of players, and why it still holds up today. Final Fantasy X launched on July 19, 2001, and it was the first entry in the series to land on the PlayStation 2. This was a game that walked away completely from the crystal motif that had defined the series for years. Instead, it built a world steeped in Southeast Asian atmosphere, tropical island landscapes, a heroine dressed in Okinawan-style robes, and ancient sacred hymns echoing through the air. That distinct cultural flavor is what makes Final Fantasy X stand apart from everything else in the franchise, and it set the tone for something both tragic and sacred. On a technical level, Final Fantasy X completely abandoned the PlayStation 1 era compromise of 2D backgrounds with 3D characters, and committed to nearly full 3D environments. Sure, players still couldn't freely rotate the camera, and the 540-pixel visuals look a little rough by today's standards. But the lighting, the layered shadows, the particle effects, all of it surpassed what came before. And the development team used the PS2's graphics chip to achieve something genuinely new: dynamic facial expressions on characters, with voice acting synced to lip movements with real precision. That was a landmark moment. It set the template for the cinematic direction the series would keep chasing for years. FF10 was also the first game in the series to feature full voice acting throughout. The expressive character faces, the cinematic camera work, it completely shattered what people expected from the PS1 era, and gave RPG players their first real taste of what next-gen storytelling could feel like. The series' signature CG cutscenes continued to deliver at an exceptional level, every detail, from Yuna's ritual dance to Tidus's movements on the field, rendered with stunning precision. The game is set in a fictional world called Spira, with the cycle of sin at its thematic core. It explores faith, sacrifice, tradition versus technology, and the courage it takes to break a 1,000-years-old fate. Through the eyes of our protagonist Tidus, an outsider who doesn't belong, the story peels back the truth of an ancient curse layer by layer. Tidus is a completely different kind of Final Fantasy protagonist, and I mean that in the best way. He starts as a carefree sports star with no idea what he's walking into, and ends up carrying the weight of a world he never asked to be part of. Over the course of the game, you piece together fragments of his father's journey and watch Tidus move from raw resentment towards something far more complicated. And the moment he finally comes face to face with his father, that's one of the most powerful emotional payoffs in the entire series. Our heroine, Yuna, is a summoner carrying a crushing destiny on her shoulders. Her quiet resilience and willingness to sacrifice everything for others leaves a lasting impression. And the emotional thread between her and Tidus, it doesn't just move the story forward. It becomes something else entirely, hope pushing back against despair. I'll be honest, the first time I played through the story, the ending wrecked me. And I don't think I'm alone in that. The rest of the cast is just as memorable. Take Auron, the stoic warrior who barely says a word, but carries more weight in every line than most characters do in an entire game. A man who made a promise and kept it for 10 years. Lulu, the Black Mage Guardian, isn't just striking in appearance. Throughout the journey, she acts as a gentle older sister figure to Yuna and serves as the player's guide to everything about Spira's world. Kimahri of the Ronso can learn enemy abilities on the fly, similar to the Blue Mage archetype from earlier entries in the series. There's a catch though. You can only use those abilities when his overdrive gauge is full, which means in practice you almost never get to use them conveniently. Bit of a wasted opportunity, honestly. And then there's Riku, the energetic Albed girl who carries the energy of the whole group, representing a people rejected and marginalized by the rest of Spira. The main party has 7 members in total, and every single one of them gets their moment. Now let's talk about the battle system, because FF10 made a bold call here. It threw out the active time battle system that the series had refined across 6 consecutive entries, and replaced it with something entirely new, the conditional turn-based battle system, or CTB. The core idea is a visible turn order list. You can see multiple turns ahead for both your party and the enemies. That means you can actually plan. Think ahead, set up combinations, all without any time pressure bearing down on you. The pacing shifts completely, from reaction-based play to decision-based play, and honestly, it works. Turn order is determined by each character's agility stat. Faster characters act more frequently, and can sometimes take multiple turns in a row. But here's what makes it interesting: that turn order can be manipulated. spells and abilities can shift positions in the queue, slow an enemy down and push their turn back, or speed yourself up to act twice before they can respond. This is why time magic is so much more important in FF10 than in any previous entry. It's not a utility tool, it's a core strategic layer. The system also allows you to swap party members freely mid-battle. No penalties, no conditions. That breaks the traditional fixed party limitation wide open and lets you tailor your lineup to whatever you're facing. Wakka is your go-to for airborne enemies. Lulu handles the pudding-type foes that laugh off physical attacks. You match the fighter to the fight. In practice, CTB turns combat from a test of reflexes into a test of information who can read the situation and respond smarter. Some people call it the best Final Fantasy combat system ever made, at least for strategy-minded players. Others will tell you the forced party. Swapping drags fights out, and fair enough, since only characters who actually enter battle gain AP. Sometimes you have to rotate everyone in just to keep them from falling behind. That can get exhausting. The character growth system is equally ambitious and equally unconventional. Traditional experience levels are gone. In their place, the sphere grid. Sphere levels don't boost your stats directly. They're the currency you spend to move across the grid, unlocking nodes as you go. Each node you activate gives you something: a stat increase, a new spell, a passive ability. Growth is entirely in your hands. The grid is divided into zones by role. Yuna starts in the white magic area, Lulu in the black magic area. But cross paths exist, and characters can break into each other's territory if you plan for it. The depth here is real. A well-planned route keeps you strong and efficient. A sloppy one leaves you missing key abilities right when you need them most. Experienced players can use teleport spheres to make massive jumps across the grid and build powerhouse characters fast. New players exploring blindly might waste resources and wonder why certain fights feel punishing. There's a definite learning curve, but that's also what gives the system replay value. The sphere grid also influenced later games in the series. Final Fantasy XII's license board follows a very similar philosophy. Weapons and armor work differently here too. No base attack or defense values at all. Instead, every piece of equipment carries up to 4 ability slots, which you can customize by using items as crafting materials. Most of the slot abilities will feel familiar if you've played earlier entries. They're basically accessory effects from previous games, now baked directly into your gear. Farming enemies for blank slot weapons and slowly crafting your ideal loadout has a genuinely satisfying grind to it. And then there are the celestial weapons, the ultimate weapons for each character. And I need to talk about how you get them. Lulu's celestial weapon requires you to dodge lightning strikes in the Thunder Plains, with 0 mistakes, 200 times in a row. I genuinely do not know what was going through the designer's head when they came up with that number. Tidus's ultimate weapon requires you to complete a special chocobo race, collect balloons, dodge birds diving at brutal angles, and finish with a total time of 0 seconds or less. And the chocobo controls like it's running on ice. Anyone who's touched this minigame knows exactly what kind of suffering I'm talking about. This is burned into the collective memory of an entire generation of players. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is the single biggest reason most people hesitate to replay the game. If a full remake ever happens, I will personally be praying that Chocobo Race gets deleted from existence. Since Final Fantasy VIII, the series has made a habit of including a full game minigame, and FF10 is no exception. That minigame is Blitzball, an underwater ball sport you can access at any save sphere. Scouting players from towns and building your roster is genuinely the most enjoyable part of the whole thing. Actually playing Blitzball though, it feels like dribbling underwater in real life, which is to say, incredibly sluggish. The moment you run into an opponent, the game yanks you into what is essentially a turn-based combat screen, where passing and shooting success comes down to pure stat comparisons. For my money, Final Fantasy VIII's triple triad card game is still the gold standard for in-game minigames. Simple, fun, and with real depth. As someone who has spent a lot of time with this franchise, I've always wanted to tell Square Enix something. It is completely okay not to have a minigame. One more design compromise worth mentioning. FF10 was the first mainline entry to use fully 3D environments at real scale, and that came with a cost. Fitting the series' traditional large-scale world map into that framework proved technically unfeasible, so the open overworld was cut entirely. The airship, once a symbol of freedom in this franchise, was reduced to a menu of selectable destinations. That's a genuine loss, but the game compensates with a handful of hidden locations that preserve at least some sense of exploration. Now let's talk about the music, because Nobuo Uematsu outdid himself here. 2 tracks stand above everything else, to Zanarkand and Suteki Dani. To Zanarkand opens with nothing but a single piano line, sparse, ancient feeling, like an old folk song slowly telling the legend of a lost civilization. It isn't just background music. It runs through the entire emotional spine of the game, Yuna's pilgrimage, and Tidus' search for his place in the world. the thing he keeps reaching for but can never quite touch. Minimal arrangement, maximum emotional weight. It's a masterclass. Tsuteki Dani captures the game's most tender moment. Folk singer Ricky's clear, gentle voice layered over Ryekiwan musical scales and modern orchestration. A flute weaving through strings, conjuring something dreamlike. The unspoken love between Yuna and Tidus, uncertain but unmistakable. And then there's Otherworld, the complete opposite of everything else on this soundtrack. Full throttle heavy metal, screaming electric guitars, operatic vocals, genuinely rare in the entire Final Fantasy catalog. It plays over the game's opening and ending, bookending Tidus' story as a kind of spiritual anthem, and paired with that opening cinematic, it hits like a freight train. The moment the track kicks in, you know, this isn't going to be an ordinary story. All three of these tracks, three completely different worlds of sound, remain staples at game music concerts to this day, and permanent fixtures in the memories of everyone who played this game. I'll save my deeper thoughts on the story's themes for the end of the video, but as a closing note on the game overall, as the flagship PlayStation 2 title for the Final Fantasy series, FF10 sold over 8.5 million copies and landed a 92 on Metacritic. It sits firmly in the top tier of JRPGs, recognized for its mature storytelling, memorable characters, innovative systems, and an exceptional soundtrack. For the early 2000s, this was the benchmark. The game that showed the world what a JRPG could be. If you're a fan of the Final Fantasy series like I am, your likes and subscriptions help me keep making content like this, so thank you for that. Alright, let's get into the story. The game opens with the party gathered around a campfire, the mood heavy, nobody speaking. On the horizon, a ruined city glows beneath a swarm of pyroflies. With the feeling that this might be their last chance, Tidus begins to tell his story, and the game flashes back to where it all began. The city of Zanarkand, a glittering, neon-soaked metropolis, alive and roaring. Tidus is the star player of the Zanarkand ABS Blitzball team, signing autographs for fans before the big game. The news broadcast is running coverage of the Jekt Memorial Cup, a tournament held in honor of his father, the legendary Jekt, who vanished 10 years ago. And then, without warning, everything changes. A massive sphere of water rises over the city, waves crash through the streets, buildings collapse, monsters pour in from every direction. Auron, Tidus' mentor, stands in the middle of all of it, completely calm. As Tidus follows him away from the stadium, time seems to freeze, and a strange boy in a purple robe appears out of nowhere, whispers and vanishes. Auron tells Tidus the name of the creature destroying the city, Sin. He presses a sword into Tidus' hands, a gift from his father Jekt, and tells him to learn to use it as they fight their way through. They push through the monster horde and come face to face with Sin itself, an incomprehensible creature filling the entire sky. An apocalyptic disaster, a mentor who seems to know everything, a kid who knows nothing, and a monster the size of a god looming overhead. What a way to open a game. Auron says to Tidus, "This is your story now." And then Sin swallows them both into a blinding white light. Tidus wakes in a dark, flooded ruin, thunder flickering in the distance, dead water all around, completely alone. A monster ambushes him from underwater, nearly drags him down, only saved because the creature was too large to fit through a collapsed doorway. He stumbles into the ruins of a temple, lights a fire, and drifts off to sleep, hungry, cold, exhausted. He half dreams of a conversation with Auron about his father's death anniversary, then jolts awake as the fire dies and another monster closes in. A group of strangers burst through the door and help him fight it off. Tidus tries to thank them, but they're speaking a language he doesn't understand, and somehow he seems to have caused a misunderstanding. They take him captive and drag him onto their ship. Eventually, the leader, a girl, switches to a language he can follow and explains they need him to help salvage underwater ruins. After a hard day's work, the two of them talk. The girl introduces herself as Riku. She explains that her people are the Albed, a group known across this world for their use of forbidden machina technology. Tidus tells her he's from Zanarkand, that Sin attacked during a blitzball match and he ended up here. Riku isn't sure whether to believe him. She suggests maybe Sin's toxin is scrambling his memory, because as far as history is concerned, Zanarkand was destroyed by Sin 1,000 years ago. That lands like a punch. Tidus can't process it. Riku brushes past it, treating it as memory confusion, and suggests he head to Luca's Blitzball Stadium. Someone there might recognize him. She also warns him, don't mention Zanarkand to any Yevon followers. It's a sacred place to them. Bringing it up carelessly would cause serious offense. Before Tidus can fully absorb any of this, Sin reappears, and the impact sends him flying off the ship and into a whirlpool. He wakes on a sun-drenched beach. Locals are playing ball nearby. The sight floods him with relief. He shows off his blitzball skills. They crowd around him, language works, He thinks he's finally found his footing. Then he mentions Zanarkand, and every face around him shifts. He quickly pulls out Riku's cover story about Sin's toxin causing memory loss, and just barely talks his way out of the situation. The man in charge introduces himself as Waka, captain and coach of the local team. Tidus quietly asks him to confirm, was Zanarkand really destroyed 1,000 years ago? Waka confirms it and fills in more. This world is called Spira. Long ago, great cities flourished here, people used machina freely and life was comfortable. Then Sin came. Punishment from the heavens, Waka says, for humanity's arrogance and overindulgence. To Waka, this is just common knowledge, basic moral truth. To Tidus, it quietly opens a door. If Sin destroyed Zanarkand once, maybe encountering Sin again could send him back. Waka invites Tidus to join the Beside Aurochs for an upcoming tournament, a team that hasn't won a single match in 23 years. Blitzball is the one thread connecting Spira to the world Tidus came from. Of course he says yes. At the village, Waka sends Tidus to pay respects to the summoner at the local temple. Tidus is surprised to recognize the prayer gesture. It's the same one players perform before a blitzball match back in Zanarkand. Inside the temple, he learns that summoners are revered figures who protect the people using the mysterious power of their aeons. But the summoner Waka mentioned hasn't come out of the cloister of trials in a full day, and there are fears for her life. Tidus doesn't think twice. He ignores the rules and charges in to help. After some light puzzle solving, he breaks through and witnesses a young woman stepping out of the Chamber of the Faith. So summoners aren't all wise old men? Noted. Outside the temple, the newly ordained summoner performs her first public summon, calling forth the Aeon Veilfer for the gathered crowd. Tidus watches, completely stunned. That evening, he's officially introduced to the team around a bonfire. The summoner, Yuna, thanks him for charging into the forbidden area and seems genuinely fascinated by the fact that he's from Zanarkand. That night, Tidus overhears Lulu scolding Waka, pointing out that his attachment to Tidus is really just projection. Tidus looks like Waka's late younger brother, Chapu. Chapu died the previous year fighting Sin, and it was that loss that drove Waka to become a guardian, sworn to take revenge. The next morning, Waka gives Tidus Chapu's old sword, and Yuna is ready to begin the pilgrimage, the sacred journey that takes a summoner across Spira, visiting every temple, ultimately seeking the power to defeat Sin. Waka and Lulu, who have watched Yuna grow up since she was a child, are traveling with her as guardians. Tidus tags along with Waka, agreed to stop by Luca for the tournament, then see if anyone there recognizes him. At the port, Yuna's final guardian joins them, Kimari, a young Ronso who picks a fight with Tidus on sight. All it takes is one brawl to sort things out. The group sets sail. Blue sky, open ocean, the journey beginning in earnest. On the voyage, Tidus learns that Yuna's father was Braska, the legendary high summoner enshrined in the temple, the hero who defeated Sin 10 years ago. Great! So she's a famous father's daughter too. Tidus knows exactly how that feels. What surprises him more, Yuna is willing to believe his story about Zanarkand. She'd heard about it from one of her father's guardians, a man named Jecht. The timeline lines up. Jecht disappeared from Tidus's world at the exact moment he appeared in Spira as Braska's guardian. His father crossed over. That seems certain now. Before they can sit with that thought, Sin arrives, heading straight for the port of Kilika. The group fights desperately to draw Sin's attention away, but it's hopeless. They can only watch as Sin raises a wall of water and wind and levels Kilika to the ground. Tidus had been counting on meeting Sin again as his ticket home. Standing in the wreckage of Kilika, that fantasy dies. This is real. There's no escaping it. At Kilika's shore, Yuna performs the Sending, a ritual dance that guides the spirits of the dead toward the far plane so they don't linger and turn into fiends. Lulu explains, in Spira, the dead who can't accept their own death become consumed by jealousy toward the living and transform into monsters. The Sending gives them peace. The next day, Yuna heads to Kilika Temple to continue the pilgrimage. Along the way, Yuna asks Tidus to be her guardian, says even if he doesn't take the title, she just wants him nearby. Waka is surprised. Tidus is surprised, but he's starting to take it seriously. At the temple, they run into a rival summoner named Dona, who immediately mocks Yuna for having too many guardians. Yuna fires back. The number of guardians is the number of people she trusts completely. Having that many people willing to stake their lives for her makes her happy. Dona has one guardian. She leaves without another word. Since Tidus isn't officially a guardian yet, he can't enter the cloister of trials, so he waits outside. Dona, still fuming, spots him standing there and shoves him in, hoping to get Yuna penalized for the violation. The party is less than impressed. If the temple rules Yuna in violation, she's the one who suffers for it. While they wait, Lulu explains the pilgrimage to Tidus. By passing through each temple's cloister of trials and entering the Chamber of the Faith, a summoner can commune with the Faith and receive an Aeon. The Faith are people who once gave their lives to fight sin, their souls sealed into stone statues through Yevon's sacred rites, becoming an eternal presence. When a summoner calls to them, the Faith appear in spirit form. That spirit, fused with pyroflies through the summoner's power, takes physical shape. That physical form is the Aeon. I'll go deeper on pyroflies later. They're central to everything in this story. Yuna successfully receives the Fire Aeon Ifrit, and the group sails on toward their next destination, Luca. The boat to Luca is packed with blitzball teams from across Spira, all headed for the tournament. When Tidus mentions Zanarkand, the players laugh. But Yuna defends him. She'd heard Jecht speak of it and always wanted to see it herself. Tidus almost invites her to come visit. He stops himself. He overhears Wakka and Lulu debating what to do with him after the tournament and wanders off alone. Standing at a blitzball, he thinks of his father and on an impulse attempts Jecht's signature move, the Jecht shot. It works. Somehow, purely from memory, he pulls it off. Wakka is stunned. Yuna recognizes it immediately. It's unmistakably Jecht's technique. That's confirmation, the same Jecht. His father crossed into Spira and became Braska's guardian. No more doubts. But that was 10 years ago, and Tidus has no idea where his father is now. Luca comes into view, the largest city in Spira, buzzing with tournament energy. Grand Maester Mika and newly appointed Maester Seymour of the Guado are both present for the occasion. While waiting in the locker room, Yuna rushes in with news. Auron has been spotted in the city. She suggests Tidus and Kimahri go find him. He might know something about Jecht. But the match is about to start. They'll have to be quick. Before heading out, Tidus teaches Yuna how to whistle. If they get separated, just whistle and he'll come running. Tidus is struck by how enormous Luca is. Yuna explains that cities can't grow too large. Large populations attract sin. Luca is an exception because the Blitzball Stadium gives the people of Spira, living under Sin's shadow, a rare source of joy, something worth protecting. Searching for Auron, Tidus and Kimahri run into two Ronso who have a score to settle with Kimahri, including the one who broke his horn. The fight breaks out just as the match begins. Tidus misses his entry. Worse, in the chaos, Yuna has been taken by Al-Bhed Blitzball players who threaten to hurt her unless Wakka throws the game. Tidus, Lulu, and Kimahri race to Dock 4, destroy the Al-Bhed's mechanical boss, and rescue Yuna. The sight of the ships at the dock stirs something in Tidus, a flash of memory from when he first arrived in Spira, pulled out of the water by a group of Al-Bhed salvagers. In the aftermath, Lulu pulls Tidus aside and tells him something unexpected. Yuna herself is half Al-Bhed by blood, and she makes one thing clear: don't bring this up in front of Wakka. His hatred of the Al-Bhed runs deep, and this is not the moment. They get word to Wakka in time, and without Tidus on the field, Wakka leads the Beside Aurochs to victory anyway, ending their 23-year losing streak. With Tidus back for the final, the legendary underdogs pull off the championship. History is made. Before anyone can celebrate, fiends swarm the stadium. Panic breaks out across the stands. Then Auron appears, cutting through the chaos like he was never gone. Seymour's Aeon cleans up what's left. Crisis over. Tidus corners Auron. He demands answers. Auron doesn't just confirm that he traveled with Jecht and Braska 10 years ago. He delivers something that hits much harder. Jecht's consciousness still exists inside Sin. In a very real sense, Sin is Jecht. That's an absurd thing to hear. Tidus can't accept it. Auron delivers it with near-total coldness, and there's nowhere to put the feeling, so Tidus just roars at the sky. In that moment, you can feel it. Whatever life he had before is gone. He's not going back. Shortly after, Auron finds Yuna and offers himself as her guardian, and per his agreement with Jecht, Tidus joins officially as well. Yuna notices Tidus is struggling. She pulls him aside and shows him she's learned to whistle. She shares how she manages her own fear, the weight of being Spira's hope, and tells him whenever he needs her, just whistle. She will come. The group continues toward the next destination, Dehose Temple. On the road, they pass a Yevon monk who mentions that the Crusaders are planning to use Forbidden Machina in a large-scale operation against Sin. Wakka's reaction makes clear just how deeply devout Yevon followers despise the Al-Bhed's reliance on machines. According to Yevon's teachings, sin is divine punishment for humanity's sins. Only by atoning can sin be made to disappear. What counts as sin? Using Machina for convenience? Yuna and Wakka grew up with this. They believe it without question. But Tidus, an outsider, hears something different in it every time. Tidus asks how sin can actually be defeated. Yuna has an answer: the final summoning, said to be the only force capable of destroying sin. Obtaining the final summoning is the ultimate purpose of the pilgrimage. just as visiting each temple earns a new aeon. The faith for the final summoning waits far to the north, in the ruins of Zanarkand. The name hits Tidus like it always does, but Auron reminds them plainly it's just a ruin, a city that's been dead for 1,000 years. Further down the road, a blockade. Summoner Dona is being turned away by soldiers. The Crusaders' massive operation against Sin is about to begin. Maester Seymour arrives and escorts the group through to the command post. Waka is already uneasy. This operation runs entirely on Machina. Even the Crusader soldiers are just bait. He confronts Maester Seymour directly. Seymour barely engages. Maester Kinok. Yevon's military representative is even less interested in the question. What both maesters seem far more curious about is Auron, the legendary guardian who disappeared 10 years ago, and what exactly he's been doing since. Auron ignores them entirely. The operation launches. The collected Sin fragments are fused into a massive lure creature. Sin takes the bait and arrives. The Crusaders are wiped out in the first wave. The Machina weapons can't even break through Sin's outer shell. When the smoke clears, the beach is covered in bodies. Sin descends back into the ocean and slowly disappears. Complete failure. And in the aftermath, both the surviving monks and soldiers blame the Machina. Yevon gets to walk away clean. The disobedient soldiers are all dead. The pure follower is all that remains. Convenient to Yevon. Yuna performs the sending again. For all the fallen, Auron says quietly to Tidus, "You still couldn't go back." Auron tells him something else. Sin's appearance here wasn't random. Sin, Jecht, came to see Tidus. But trapped inside Sin, he can't control the destruction. He's showing his son the reality of this world, hoping Tidus will find a way to end it. How does Auron know that? He just smiles and doesn't answer. The next stop is Josei Temple, where crackling lightning floats around massive standing stones. Lulu explains it's a sign. Another summoner is inside communing with the faith. Inside, the group meets fellow summoner Isaru and his guardians. They exchange pleasantries and make a friendly wager, whoever defeats Sin first. As they leave, Isaru pulls Tidus aside with a warning. Summoners have been going missing on the road lately. Watch over Yuna carefully. Through the cloister of trials, Yuna receives the lightning Aeon Ixion. On the way out, Donna again. This time her guardian Barthelo recognizes Auron and nearly falls over himself trying to shake the man's hand. Donna finds a new angle to mock Yuna with, then leaves. Yuna stays behind to care for the wounded and perform sendings. She barely sleeps. The next morning, everyone sees how tired she is and laughs softly. The only one genuinely laughing is Tidus. Traveling through the moonflow, Tidus suggests coming back here together after Sin is defeated. Nobody responds to Tidus. They cross the river on a shupuff. Waka points to submerged ruins beneath the water. What happens when Machina is abused, he says. Mid-crossing, an Albed pulls Yuna underwater. Tidus and Waka dive in immediately, destroy the Machina holding her, and pull her out. On the bank, Tidus realizes the one controlling the Machina was Riku. She says she had her reasons. With Waka right there, Tidus covers for her again, says she's someone who helped him once. Waka somehow still doesn't make the connection. Riku joins the group smoothly, with a quiet nod from Auron, who has figured out who she is. Riku becomes the party's final guardian. The group arrives at Guadasalam, the Guado's main city, and Seymour's home territory. They're immediately invited to Seymour's mansion. Lulu explains who he is, son of the late Guado chieftain Jiskel and a human woman. After his father's death, Seymour inherited the chieftainship, took a seat as Yevon Maester, and also serves as head monk of Makalania Temple. A man with a lot of hats. Seymour finally appears and produces a rare spear, a holographic recording of Zanarkand from 1,000 years ago. Standing inside it, watching the city they've only ever heard about as a ghost story, the group is stunned into silence. The final figure in the recording is Yunalesca, the first high summoner ever to defeat Sin 1,000 years ago. Seymour makes his point. Yunalesca defeated Sin together with her husband Zayon. Then, without any transition, he formally proposes marriage to Yuna. The room buzzes. Lulu and Waka note that a union between Braska's daughter and the Guado chieftain would be an enormous morale boost for all of Spira. Even Riku thinks it might be worth it if Yuna could just quit the pilgrimage. Tidus is the only one asking the obvious question. Does anyone care whether Yuna actually likes Seymour? To clear her head, Yuna suggests visiting the far plane, a chance to see her father. Tidus assumed the far plane was where the dead live. He's about to be corrected. The far plane is actually a gathering place for pyroflies, drawn there by the act of sending. Pyroflies are not insects. They're a form of biological energy that exists invisibly in the air and inside all living things. At high enough concentrations, they glow and drift. hence the name. Because they dissolve easily in water, pyreflies can be suspended in spheres and dissolved into blitzball pools, giving players the ability to breathe underwater without surfacing. At the farplane entrance, Tidus notices Auron hanging back, refusing to go in. Riku explains, the farplane doesn't actually summon the dead. It responds to memory. Pyreflies react to longing and take the shape of whoever you're thinking of, but they're only ever echoes. They can't respond. Inside, that's exactly what they find. Yuna's parents, Chapu, standing in front of Waka, still, silent. Reflections of grief, not presences. Even so, for the living, it helps. Waka and Lulu both seem lighter when they walk out. Yuna encourages Tidus to call for Jecht. Nothing appears, which means Jecht is alive, wherever he is. What does appear surprised Tidus? His mother's image. Yuna explains gently. That means she passed on in peace, without needing ascending. She accepted her death and came here on her own. That unlocks something in Tidus. He understands now why he resented his father so much. After Jecht disappeared, his mother had nothing left to live for, even with her son still right there. Then something goes wrong. Jyscal, Seymour's dead father, materializes as a ghost. Yuna performs the sending immediately. As Jyscal fades, he drops a spear. Auron, standing nearby, looks unwell. He hurries everyone out. On the way back, the group speculates. Jyscal died with something unresolved. His death wasn't natural. Yuna decides to go speak with Seymour alone. Auron tells her not to let Jyscal's appearance affect her judgment. Tidus asks Lulu why nobody seems to care whether Yuna actually likes Seymour. The answer baffles him. As long as Yuna doesn't abandon the pilgrimage, a summoner has earned the right to do as she chooses, even marry someone she doesn't love. Resolve covers everything. But here's the twist. Lulu also says that if Yuna were to say she wanted to marry Seymour, that she liked him, Lulu would actually oppose it, which makes absolutely no sense to Tidus. And honestly, same. But the logic is there if you sit with it. A summoner using marriage as a calculated move is one thing. A summoner falling for someone might mean her heart is no longer fully committed to the path ahead. Word comes that Seymour has already left for Macalania Temple. Yuna's next destination anyway. The group presses on, the thunder plains. Lightning without end. Riku has a serious phobia of lightning, so the group stops at a travel agency to let her recover. Tidus finds Yuna alone in a room, watching Jyscal's spear. She tenses when he enters, and only says that Jyscal left a final message, asking her to look after his son, Seymour. Not long after, Yuna announces to everyone that she's decided to accept Seymour's proposal. Her stated reason is vague, for Spira, for Yevon. Auron asks to see the spear. Yuna refuses, says she wants to speak with Seymour first. Something doesn't add up. It feels like Yuna is planning something dangerous and doesn't want to drag anyone else into it. Auron doesn't push it. He accepts her answer. Tidus is lost. A summoner's freedom comes from her willingness to die. That's the deal. He's the only one who doesn't already understand this, and he hates that he doesn't. As they leave the Thunder Plains, Auron reads Tidus easily and tells him quietly, Yuna is planning to use the marriage as a bargaining chip in some kind of negotiation with Seymour. The specifics are unclear. But whatever it is, Yuna doesn't want interference. Passing through Macalania Woods, Auron cuts through the undergrowth and finds a pyrefly spring, one used to make spheres. After defeating the Guardian boss, the group discovers a spear left behind by Jecht, containing fragments of his journey alongside Braska and Auron. And inside it, unexpectedly, a warm message left for his son. Auron explains, Jecht spent the early part of the journey constantly demanding to go home to Zanarkand. But the deeper he traveled through Spira, the more he understood its suffering, and the more he understood what Braska was willing to give up. Gradually, he accepted that he had to stay. Tidus has already reached the same place, even if he won't admit it. He couldn't leave Yuna and the others behind, not now, just like his father could not. Auron puts it plainly, Jecht just never learned how to show his love. The only father Tidus can remember is the one who only ever pushed him down. Seymour's steward Tremel intercepts Yuna at the forest's edge and escorts her to Macalania Temple to prepare for the wedding. But before they can follow, Al-Bhed attackers ambush the group, including Riku's older brother. The Al-Bhed deploy a heavy Machina armored vehicle capable of sealing off magic and Eon summoning. Destroying the sealing devices floating above unlocks everything, and the vehicle is brought down. Now Waka sees it. Riku's fluent Al-Bhed. The argument that follows is a long time coming. Is using Machina really a sin? Why does sin exist in the first place? Can anyone actually prove that following Yevon's teachings will make sin disappear? Waka, devout, grieving, certain, and Riku, Practical, skeptical, searching, cannot bridge this gap. Waka walks off alone toward the temple. The others take the Al-Bed snowcraft ahead. Riding with Riku here, you learn she and Yuna are actually cousins. Riding with Lulu, you learn the real root of Waka's hatred. Chapo died using Al-Bed Machina. For Waka, that weapon killed his brother twice, once literally, once by betraying his faith. When Tidus tries asking whether sin might have once been human, Lulu only recites the doctrine. Sin is punishment. Sin is the embodiment of humanity's original sin. She doesn't go further. The people of Spira who follow Yevon have stopped asking the question. Like Waka, they've accepted a debt that can never be paid. Sad, really. At Macalania Temple, Yuna is nowhere in the main hall, reportedly inside the Cloister of Trials with Seymour. A commotion breaks out nearby. Someone has viewed Jiskel's sphere. The recording inside reveals that Seymour murdered his own father and contains Jiskel's dying request for someone to stop his son. The group races into the Cloister of Trials to find Yuna. They confront Seymour outside the Chamber of the Faith. Tidus calls him out directly. They've seen the sphere. Seymour doesn't deny it. He doesn't even bother to defend himself. He just smiles, perfectly composed, and says, "Then I'll need all of you to die here." I'll be honest, I expected more from him at this point. He takes a bit of damage and goes into his second phase. Seymour summons his Eon. The difficulty jumps. The group fights through it and brings him down. Seymour falls. Trammell bursts in, seizes the body, and blocks Yuna's sending, then destroys the spear, the only hard evidence of the crime. Orin sees the situation clearly and calls the retreat. Run! Chased by Guado soldiers, the group fights and runs across the frozen lake until a snow monster shatters the ice beneath them and they plunge into the depths of Lake Macalania. They wake at the bottom of the lake, somehow unhurt from that fall. Yuna explains what she was trying to do. She'd seen the truth about Jiskel's death and naively thought she could use the marriage as leverage, convince Seymour to surrender himself for trial in exchange. But Seymour didn't play along. Now they're fugitives, wanted for the murder of a maester. Visiting the remaining temples the normal way will be nearly impossible. But Yuna makes something clear. The power that grants summoners their aeons comes from the faith, not from temples, not from institutions, not from doctrine. The guilt of having killed a maester, even a murderous one, weighs on Waka and the others. Yuna decides they need to go to Bevel, the Yevon capital, and explain themselves to Grand Maester Mika directly. As they talk, the hymn of the faith drifts down from somewhere above. From Macalania Temple, it sounds like. Orin mentions that Jecht loved that song. It reminded him of home. That stops Tidus cold. Sin connects Zanarkand and Spira. If Sin is destroyed, he really won't be able to go back. The ground shudders. The group suddenly realizes they've been standing on top of Sin this whole time. Was Sin just listening to the song? Tidus reaches through it, through the impossibility of it, and feels something. His father, homesick. Missing Zanarkand, he can almost hear him. In that moment, Tidus fully accepts it. Sin is his father, no more flinching from it. Tidus wakes in a desert. Sin had been carrying them, and now they've been thrown clear. He gathers the scattered party, but Yuna is nowhere to be found. Riku tells everyone they're not far from the Al-Bed's secret home base. Her people probably found Yuna first and brought her back there. The group heads toward home. But when they arrive, it's already under siege. Guado forces, acting on Yevon's authority, are tearing the place apart. Riku's father, Sid, leader of the Al-Bed, is directing the defense, holding the line against the assault. Riku explains, the Al-Bed's original homeland was destroyed by Sin long ago. This place, home, was built from nothing by Sid, a gathering point for their scattered people. Now it's being destroyed too. They fight their way through and reach a room labeled as a sanctuary for summoners. It turns out the Al-Bed have been abducting summoners from across Spira, not to harm them but to protect them, because they refuse to watch summoners die. Tidus immediately pushes back. Kidnapping someone to keep them safe is still kidnapping. Isn't protecting the summoner supposed to be the guardian's job? The room goes quiet. Everyone looks away and leaves without a word. And that silence tells Tidus everything, and nothing. He still doesn't understand why no one will just say it. The room holds Dona and Isaru, but not Yuna. She's already gone. It's Isaru's guardian who finally breaks the silence, with words that hit like a blade. Summoners are sacrifices. Riku can't hold it back anymore. She tells Tidus the truth outright. Even if a summoner defeats Sin, they will die, because the final summoning requires the life of the summoner to activate. Tidus is the only one in the party who didn't already know this. Yuna has been walking toward her own death from the moment this journey began. And Tidus? He had been saying things like, "Let's come back here after we beat Sin, and I want to show you Zanarkand," painting picture after picture of a future they'd share together. And Yuna had been smiling and listening to every word. Yuna had said it herself, Summoners and guardians are the hope of Spira. She wanted to travel with a smile on her face. This is what resolve means. That's what Tidus had been unable to understand this entire time. Tidus wants to apologize. He wants to go to her, to save her. But he knows that an apology alone can't undo anything. And he can't just grab her hand and run. Because then who fights sin? Who protects Spira? He's already made up his mind. Yuna will not die. There has to be another way. Sid roars at him. Then stop talking and prove it. That's when it becomes clear. They're standing inside an airship. The very one Tidus and Riku salvaged from the ocean floor back when they first met. With no other option, Sid orders a full weapons discharge, destroying both the invading Guado forces and what remains of home along with them. Home is a machine. It can be rebuilt. As long as the people are alive, it can be rebuilt. He channels everything into the airship's ancient Pyre fly detection system, hoping to use it to locate Yuna. Even Sid doesn't fully understand how the technology works. 1,000 years of Yevon's Machina prohibition has left a gap so wide that nobody alive can explain why an airship flies anymore. But Sid makes one thing absolutely clear. Even if they find Yuna, he will not allow her to continue the pilgrimage. He refuses to stand by and watch his niece walk to her death. That hits Waka hardest of all. Because now he knows. Yuna has Al-Bed blood too. Half of her is the people he spent years despising. Waka's entire belief system is fracturing in real time. But this is Yuna. He'll find a way to sort himself out. He has to. Then Riku's brother cries out from the cockpit. He's found her. On screen, Yuna, standing in a wedding dress beside a Seymour who should be dead. Location, Betrayal. The heart of Yevon itself. It seems that after the group was separated in the desert, another Guado unit captured her. But wait, Seymour is alive? How? Orin explains. Seymour died, but like Jiskel before him, his obsession was too powerful to let him pass on. He refused to go to the far plane. Instead, his body transformed, becoming an unsent, a being sustained not by life but by Pyre flies, held together by sheer force of will. An unsent isn't a corpse that moves. It's something closer to an aeon in nature, a body of pyreflies, anchored by an unyielding fixation. As long as that fixation remains, they cannot truly die. The airship closes in on Bevel, and immediately draws fire from the guardian dragon protecting the holy city. The party takes to the deck and brings the dragon down. As it falls, it dissolves into a cascade of pyreflies raining over the city like light. Maester Kinnock orders the warrior monks to open fire on the approaching ship. The party rappels down on the airship's anchor cables, drops directly into the wedding ceremony, and fights their way toward Yuna. They're almost there, almost through, when Kinnock steps forward with a gun and stops them cold. Yuna seizes the moment and begins performing the sending on Seymour. Grand Maester Mika threatens the lives of her companions to make her stop. Seymour, savoring every second of this, forces a kiss on Yuna, then, with perfect composure, orders the execution of Tidus and the others. Yuna threatens to take her own life if he doesn't rescind the order. Seymour backs down. And then Yuna steps to the edge and leaps. In the air, a burst of brilliant light. Valefor materializes from nothing, wings spreading wide, and catches her without a sound. The others break through the warrior monks and scatter. Knowing Yuna won't give up on reaching the faith inside Bevel's temple, the group charges into the Cloister of Trials. And here's the irony that the game doesn't make a big deal of, but absolutely should: the Yevon Theocracy. The institution that preaches Machina as forbidden sin has state-of-the-art Machina systems running through the core of its most sacred temple. Make of that what you will. They find Yuna inside the Chamber of the Faith, communing with the faith. She receives the power of the dragon Aeon Bahamut. When they emerge, Kinnock is waiting outside with a full unit of warrior monks. The group is taken into custody. They are brought before Yevon's Supreme Court. Ronso Maester Kelk Ronso reads the charges on behalf of the other maesters: assault on Maester Seymour, collusion with the Al-Bed, inciting disorder within Yevon, unforgivable acts of betrayal. When asked to respond, Yuna strikes back. She exposes Seymour's murder of his own father. She names him the real traitor. And she points out something that nobody in that room can argue with. He is already dead. Sending the dead to the far plane is a summoner's sacred duty, one of the most fundamental obligations within Yevon's own doctrine. What she attempted to do to Seymour was entirely within her rights as a summoner. She formally requests, right there in open court, that the sending of Seymour be carried out. Grand Maester Mika dismisses this with contempt. And then, the pyreflies surrounding him, faintly but unmistakably, become visible. The Grand Maester of Yevon is himself an unsent. He has been dead for years, leading the living from beyond the grave, openly defying the very doctrine he claims to uphold. The remaining maesters speak in turn, each sentence calm and measured. each one more chilling than the last. A wise leader who has already passed on is worth far more than a foolish one still breathing. Life is nothing but a hollow, fleeting dream. Only eternal death holds any truth. Death is the only sovereign of Spira. That is Yevon's deepest truth. I want to stop here, because this scene deserves more than just a summary. Think about what you've seen over the course of this journey. Summoner after summoner setting out on the pilgrimage, carrying hope, carrying the weight of an entire world's expectations, some dying on the road, others making it all the way, only to burn themselves out in the final battle. You assumed that was the world's greatest sacrifice, the most noble thing a person could do. And now, in this room, someone is telling you, calmly, without remorse, that it was all a lie. Not a lie in the simple sense. The sacrifices were real, the deaths were real, the calms were real, however brief. But the S-system itself is broken. Every summoner who ever died didn't buy peace. They fed the machine. They kept the spiral of death turning. And the people who designed this system are standing right in front of you, not ranting, not cackling, just explaining it like it's perfectly reasonable. That's what makes Mika so genuinely terrifying. He doesn't think he did anything wrong. The cold certainty of that is so much worse than anger. With that truth on the table, Yuna's rebellion against it is framed as exactly what the court says it is: unforgivable heresy. The group expects execution. Instead, they are thrown into the Via Purifico, the underground waterway beneath Bevel that served as a place of purification. The Maesters, it turns out, are too mindful of Yuna's reputation among the people to make her death public. They plan to have soldiers waiting at the exit, a quiet, deniable end. Only Kelk Ronso refuses to participate. Disgusted by Seymour's patricide, he walks out of the proceedings entirely. Seymour, unwilling to leave anything to chance, decides to handle this personally, and the opportunistic Kinok tags along. Fortunately, everyone in the group is a strong swimmer. Tidus, Waka, and Riku find themselves separated from the others in a different section of the waterway and begin making their way toward the exit. Encounter a guardian creature blocking the passage, an undead type, which goes down quickly to a phoenix down. At the end of Yuna's path, the exit is blocked by someone unexpected, Isaru. His expression is pained and twisted when he sees her. Destroy the traitors. That is Yevon's command, and despite every doubt filling his face, despite knowing this will dirty his hands, Isaru steps forward to fight. Yuna has no choice but to call on her Aeons. The battle is decided quickly. Isaru, lying on the ground in defeat, quietly points her toward the exit. The group leaves without celebration. Auron tells him quietly, "Don't continue the pilgrimage after this." Two summoners, who once made a friendly bet about who would defeat Sin first. One of them just had to fight the other in an underground canal on the orders of dead men. There's nothing triumphant about any of it. The two groups reunite on the bridge outside Bevel, and before they can even breathe, Seymour arrives with his warrior monks and throws Kinok's corpse at their feet. He announces with genuine satisfaction that he has saved Kinok, freed him from a life spent chasing power and living in fear. Kinok is at peace now, no more suffering. By the same logic, if all of Spira were to die, all of Spira's suffering would be healed. Personally, I think Seymour and Kefka from Final Fantasy VI would get along incredibly well. The group has heard enough. Kimahri charges at Seymour with everything he has and doesn't leave a scratch. With a thought, Seymour absorbs the life force of the warrior monks surrounding him, drawing their pyreflies into himself. He transforms and becomes something far more dangerous. Kimahri tells the others to run. Auron yells the same, but Yuna cannot leave a companion behind. And in that shared moment of understanding, without a word spoken, both Yuna and Tidus turn back. Together, the party faces Seymour's transformed state head-on and drives him back. That night, the group escapes into Macalania Woods. The betrayal by the institution Yuna has believed in her entire life leaves her hollow. She stands alone in the glowing spring, and what she says sounds nothing like the Yuna who has been strong every step of this journey. There's exhaustion in it. Real exhaustion, stripped of the composure she always wears. Tidus doesn't say the right thing. He just tells the truth, that he already knows about the final summoning, that he knows she dies if she uses it. And he apologizes for everything he said, all those plans, all those futures he described so easily. Let's come back here. Let's go to Zanarkand. Let's do this after Sin is gone. Yuna laughs. She tells him those words made her happy. Tidus offers something reckless. Forget the pilgrimage. Forget being a summoner. Come with him. Leave all of it behind. Go to Zanarkand. See the city all lit up. Go to a blitzball game and scream yourself hoarse. Watch the moon flow at night. Stay up to see the sunrise. As he talks, Yuna's tears begin to fall. But Yuna is who she is. She cannot abandon Spira to keep suffering while she runs. In the spring shimmering with starlight, they hold each other. They kiss, more than once, quietly confirming what they feel. Sitting beside the water afterward, they talk. Yuna decides she will continue. But this time, it is her own choice. Made by a Yuna freed from obligation, choosing the path because she wants to walk it, not because she was born into it. She asks Tidus to stay with her until the end. He agrees. They walk back to the others hand in hand. Yuna announces, they leave at dawn, no one asks questions, everyone rests. Ahead lies the Calm Lands, the vast open plain where generations of high summoners have chosen to make their final stand against sin. Beyond it, there are no more cities, no more villages, only the long, broken wilderness stretching toward the end of the world. But Yuna's eyes are steady now, the uncertainty is gone, and Tidus has quietly made his own vow he will not let her die. There has to be a way. He just hasn't found it yet. At a travel agency in the middle of the Calm Lands, the group has an unexpected visitor, Zook, a summoner once guarded by Lulu and Waka, now a monk in Bevel. Zook delivers grim news. Grand Maester Micah has announced to all of Spira that Yuna's party assassinated Maester Kinnock and fled. A kill-on-sight order has been issued. Kinnock is dead. Kelk Ronso has resigned from the council. The upper ranks of Yevon are in chaos. Zook came partly out of concern for Lulu, and partly out of something harder to name. A kind of fascinated respect for this summoner, who has been branded a traitor but keeps walking forward anyway. The great chasms cutting through the Calm Lands are the scars left behind by past high summoners fighting sin. The canyon floors have since become monster nests. Lulu leads the group into a cave, her expression grave. This is where her very first ward, a summoner named Ginham, died during a pilgrimage Lulu was guarding. Inside the cave, stolen faith statues have been hidden here by someone who couldn't bear the thought of another summoner dying for the final summoning. The group understands the impulse completely. Deeper in the cave, they find Ginham, transformed into an unsent, her human consciousness gone. She no longer responds to Lulu's voice. Ending Ginham's lingering attachment is the last thing Lulu can do for her as a guardian. She does it without flinching. After the battle, Yuna receives a new Aeon, Yojimbo. Leaving the cave and heading north, the group shakes off Seymour's pursuit and pushes toward Mountain Gagazet, the Ronso's sacred mountain, the homeland they have guarded for generations. The moment Tidus and the others step through the mountain gate, they are surrounded by Ronso warriors. Yevon's orders classify the party as traitors. The Ronso are bound to follow those orders. They will not allow passage. Yuna doesn't back down. She stands her ground and declares, clearly, without hesitation, that she will not follow a temple that has twisted its own doctrine and betrayed the people of Spira. Lulu adds pointedly, even Kelk Ronso himself resigned and walked away from Bevel. The Ronso warriors begin to murmur. The pressure builds. Yuna doesn't flinch. She speaks calmly and directly, and every word lands. Kelk Ronso, chieftain, former maester, a man who has harbored his own doubts about Yevon's leadership for a long time, is shaken to his core. He turns it over in his mind, branded a traitor, hated by the people, still choosing to march toward sin and die for them. Why? Yuna answers with a smile because she loves Spira. Even if it costs her life, she wants to bring it even a moment of peace. That clarity, that purity of conviction moves Kelk in a way arguments never could. He orders the Ronso to stand aside. Mount Gagazet opens its gates. Yuna bows in gratitude. The group begins the ascent. They don't get far before two Ronso warriors block the path, Biran and Yinki. Their business is with Kimari alone. To them, a Kimari who once left Gagazet is a Kimari who has no right to return, a weakling who couldn't even protect his own horn. To prove he belongs on this mountain, and to make peace with his past, Kimari bets the honor of the Ronso on a solo battle against both of them. When the fight is over, Biran and Yinki acknowledge what they felt. Kimari has grown. They accept their defeat with grace and honor his victory. Biran makes one more promise. As compensation for the horn he once broke, he and Yinki will hold back the pursuit forces from behind. To the sound of the Ronso's solemn hymn of the faith rising to the mountain air, the group continues climbing. The long mountain path is cold and merciless. Scattered along the way are grave markers for summoners whose names no one remembers, a quiet reminder that not every pilgrim makes it to the end. And Zanarkand, the destination they've been walking toward this entire time, is getting closer. If they keep going, the question of the final summoning in Yuna's fate will have to be answered. There is no more road that avoids it. And they still don't have a solution. Before they can even wrestle with it, Seymour appears again, and this time he's bragging. He tells them, with obvious pleasure, that he has already slaughtered the Ronso people at the base of the mountain. He watches Kimari's face twist with grief and fury, and seems to find it satisfying. He launches into his philosophy again: death is healing, suffering ends with life. If he becomes sin, even Jecht can finally be saved. He directs that last part at Tidus specifically. A calculated cruelty. This time, Seymour is significantly stronger than before. They defeat him again. But Yuna is left with questions. Why does Seymour believe Yuna can help him become sin? And why would becoming sin save Jecht? Under Yuna's direct questioning, Tidus finally tells the truth. Sin is his father, Jecht. The entire party is stunned, Yuna included, but her resolve to defeat sin doesn't waver for a single moment. Tidus tells her he understands. Ending all of this, he believes that's what his father wants too. Near the summit, they come across a strange section of cliff face, a wall that seems fused with a cluster of faith statues, with a massive pillar of pyriflies rising beside it. Yuna senses something immediately. Someone, or something, is drawing pyriflies from all of them simultaneously. Orin reads the situation but says nothing. He stays silent. Tidus understands why. Whatever this is, it concerns him directly. The answer is his to find. He reaches out and touches the wall, and his consciousness is pulled into another space entirely. He finds himself in Zanarkand, but it's empty, silent, no people, no sound. Standing there is the boy he's seen before, the faith of Bahamut, whose soul is still sealed inside a statue in Bavel's temple even now. Tidus assumes he's dreaming. The boy tells him, "You're not dreaming, you are the dream." 1,000 years ago, Zanarkand summoners were defeated in battle by Bavel's mechanized armies. The city was destroyed. The surviving summoners refused to accept that this was the end. They gave themselves over, collectively, willingly, becoming faith. Together, with the accumulated weight of their shared longing, they summoned something no individual could have summoned alone, a Zanarkand built from memory, a city that would never stop dreaming itself into existence. Dream Zanarkand, the city Tidus grew up in, the city he called home, every brick, every street, every citizen, including Tidus's family. All of them, dream constructs, products of the faith's longing, given shape by pyreflies. The faith themselves appear in that world too, with their own forms, like this boy, the Bahamut faith, who exists inside the dream. To put it plainly, and yes, it's brutal, Tidus and everyone else in that city are essentially NPCs, characters written into existence by someone else's dream. The moment the faith stop dreaming, everything disappears. The faith are tired. They have been dreaming for 1,000 years. They want to sleep, truly sleep. They are asking Tidus and Jecht, the father and son who have touched sin, who are no longer ordinary parts of the dream, to find a way to end this, to break the cycle that has kept the dream going for so long. This is where the full picture comes together. Tidus and Jecht exist in the same way aeons do, products of the faith's dreaming, thought made physical through pyriflies, with longing as the core. Compare that to Seymour's unsent form, which is also a pyrifly body, but anchored by obsession rather than love. And sin, and Dream Zanarkand itself, are simply the same phenomenon at a much larger scale. The voices of his companions pull Tidus back. He keeps it simple, tells them he had a dream. But the faith boy's words sit on him like a weight he can't put down. His own existence is a dream. He has always been a dream. The summit is within reach. Orin finds himself thinking of the last time he stood here, 10 years ago, afraid, uncertain, wishing he could change something he ultimately couldn't. When they reach the top, Tidus looks out over the vast ruins of Zanarkand stretched out below in the fading light, the place he thought was home, a ruin that has been dead for 1,000 years. He's overcome with something that doesn't have a simple name, grief and awe, and the strange calm of accepting something that can't be changed. Maybe his story, too, is coming to its last chapter. And the moment that decides Yuna's fate is almost here. Riku cries out, unable to hold it in. Yuna smiles gently and is the one who ends up comforting her. Then, quietly, a spear rolls to the ground and rests there unnoticed until the others walk away. Tidus picks it up. It's Yuna's. She prepared this before leaving, a recorded message for each of her guardians. One by one, Oron, Kimari, Waka, Lulu, deep gratitude, carefully chosen words for each of them. And for Tidus, something more open, something that says what she hadn't been able to say out loud. This isn't just a farewell, it's proof of her resolve. It's a confession. Tidus holds the weight of it, and quietly falls into step at the back of the group as they wind down through the ruins toward the silence ahead. The party arrives at the ruins of Zanarkand as the sun sinks to the horizon. This is the moment the game's opening brought us to. The campfire, the heavy silence, Tidus beginning to tell his story. The circle closes. They take up their weapons and move into the ruins. The broken shapes of buildings still carry the silhouette of the city Tidus once knew. Fireflies swarm and drift through the ruins like rivers of light, otherworldly, beautiful, and terrible. At the far end, a robed figure waits and guides them inside. In the heart of the ruins, the place known as the Zanarkand Dome, they bear witness to recorded images of past summoners who challenged sin from this very spot. Among them, a vision of the young Seymour, and beside him, his mother choosing to sacrifice herself so he could have power, becoming Anima's faith. 10 years ago, Braska's party stood in this same place. The dome itself is essentially one enormous sphere. Saturated with pyroflies, it has absorbed and preserved the echoes of every sacrifice that ever took place here. After fighting through the final cloister of trials and defeating the guardian boss, the chamber of the final faith opens before them. Aaron gives Yuna a nod. She walks alone into the elevator. And then, a sound. Tidus hears his father's voice from somewhere, sharp with alarm. There's no final faith here. Yuna comes back out moments later, urgent. She calls for the others. The room is empty. There is no faith. Only a statue with no soul inside it. The wall behind them lights up. The robed figure reappears and tells them the truth. The original faith, Zayon, is gone. His soul has already departed. But it doesn't matter. Lady Yunalesca will grant them a new path to salvation. The figure gestures toward a door of light. Oren already knew all of this. He wanted them to see it with their own eyes, to understand what they were walking into. The doors open. A woman of breathtaking elegance steps forward, composed, radiant, and carrying an authority that makes the air feel different. This is Yunalesca, the legend, the first summoner to ever defeat sin, and she is also an unsent, dead for 1,000 years, still here, still waiting. What she says next hits the group like a physical blow. The power of the final summoning does not come from nowhere. It requires the sacrifice of a guardian, someone bound to the summoner by a deep and genuine connection, to be transformed into a new faith. Yunalesca herself sacrificed her husband Zayon. He became the faith. The final summoning that defeated sin was built on his life. And in her view, the summoner need not grieve, because the final summoning will kill them too. Death will erase the sorrow. Death heals everything. 10 years ago, Braska and Jekt came to this same room. And Jekt, even with his love for his son pulling at him, even with everything left unsaid, chose to become Braska's faith. He gave his life so that Braska could have even one calm for Spira. Braska walked to the end, hoping, maybe, that this time sin wouldn't come back. It did. Jekt became the new sin. Their sacrifice, both of them, fed the spiral of death and kept it turning. Yuna asks Yunalesca directly, is it certain that sin will always return? Yunalesca answers plainly, sin is Spira's destiny. It will never change. But Yevon's teachings promise, atone for the sins, and sin will disappear. Hope, Yunalesca says, is simply the force that makes people stop struggling and accept their fate. Across time, Tidus and Oren arrive at the same answer at the same moment, and both of them roars back at her. But to Yunalesca, that defiance is just the grief of people who can't accept reality. Pitiful creatures choosing despair over salvation. Choose death and the peace it brings, or life and the endless battle against sorrow. Arn's voice cuts through. We have chosen! He has been waiting for this moment longer than any of them know. The group has already made their answer, through every step of this journey. They will not follow the track laid down for them. They will bet on the possibility that doesn't exist yet. We decide how our story ends. The legend tears away her graceful mask and transforms, revealing the true face of the thing that has presided over the spiral of death for 1,000 years. But the group doesn't retreat. They push back with everything they have, faith, fury, and the bond between them, and fight to the end. When Yunalesca's form finally dissolves and fades, the method of creating the final summoning dies with her, lost forever. Her last words carry a faint edge of mockery. Yevon, she says, the Eternal One, will always birth a new sin. After everything, Yuna says quietly, almost to herself, I think we just did something incredible. Tidus laughs. He says he feels terrifyingly powerful right now, and they're going to find a way to beat sin without the final summoning, a way that doesn't require anyone to die. Aaron stops them before they walk out. He has something to tell them. He is, like Mika and Seymour, an unsent. He has been dead for 10 years. After Braska and Jekt's sacrifice, he couldn't accept what had happened, and in his rage and grief, he challenged Yunalesca alone. Predictably, she killed him. Before his death, he entrusted the infant Yuna to Kimahri's care. Then, sustained by sheer force of will, he stayed in the world, traveled to dream Zanarkand in his unsent form, riding inside Sin, and spent 10 years watching over Tidus. All of it to keep a promise. The promise he made to Jecht. He didn't even know if it was possible to get to dream Zanarkand. He said yes anyway. A promise made, kept for a lifetime. That's Oron. As they step out of the ruins, the long night finally ends. Dawn breaks, light pours across the rubble. And not far away, hovering in the pale morning sky, Sin. Jecht. Waiting, as if he knew his son would come. Tidus looks up at the enormous shape and speaks to it directly. He tells his father, there's no final summoning anymore, but he will find a way, just wait a little longer. Sin's massive body turns, slowly, and moves away, as if it understood. And then Sid's airship breaks through the clouds, right on time. The last leg of the journey begins. The challenge now is unprecedented. Defeat Sin without the final summoning, without any established method, without any guarantee of success. The only real clue, Sin's core is Jecht, and there is some kind of connection between Jecht and Tidus. That's the thread to pull. Kimahri's words stay with Tidus. The answer won't be found in Yevon's doctrine. It will be found outside of it. To truly understand the doctrine, you have to understand everything it's been hiding. The person who knows Yevon's secrets most completely is Grand Maester Mika. They head to Bevel. The group also identifies another angle. The hymn of the faith seems to cause Sin to pause, to grow still. It might be enough to create an opening. When the group reaches Bevel, they're immediately branded as traitors again and surrounded by warrior monks. Until Shalinda, now promoted to an inspector position, steps in and disperses them. She explains, the upper structure of Yevon is in freefall. Multiple maesters dead. The institution is fracturing. Grand Maester Mika is barely holding himself together. When the group finds him and he learns that Yunalesca has been defeated, that the 1,000-year lineage of the final summoning has been permanently severed, he breaks. From him, the group learns the final piece. Yevon gathers the souls of the dead and fuses them into armor. That armor is Sin. Sin is nothing more than Yevon's protective shell, a machine for eliminating any threat to his endless summoning. Yevon himself has become something far diminished from the greatest summoner of 1,000 years ago. He is now little more than an automaton, locked in an eternal loop. Summoning, maintaining the Dream City, sealed inside Sin, purging threats, beginning again. Every time the final summoning defeats the current Sin, Yevon latches onto the final Aeon and transforms it into the next Sin. The spiral of death perpetuates itself. That is the truth of the spiral. That is why the calm never lasts. As long as Yevon exists, Sin will always return. Having said all of this, the last sovereign of Yevon's power chooses to end himself. His body dissolves into pyroflies and disappears. And just like that, another thread goes cold. But the Bahamut faith appears again, before Tidus and Yuna this time, and reveals the final truth. Yevon was the greatest summoner in Zanarkand 1,000 years ago. He was Yunalesca's father. When Bevel's forces destroyed Zanarkand, it was Yevon who cast the forbidden art, converting every surviving citizen of Zanarkand into faith, binding them together to dream the city back into existence. To sustain a summoning of that scale, Yevon used gravity magic to continuously draw pyroflies from across Spira, condensing them into the enormous living armor that became Sin. Sin exists to eliminate any threat to Yevon's summoning, to keep the dream of Zanarkand safe. And now Yevon is nothing but the automation at the center, mindlessly sustaining a dream city that nobody asked for anymore, consuming Spira's pyroflies endlessly to keep it going. The boy Faith asks Yuna for one thing. In the final battle against Yevon, summon all of the Aeons. Yuna doesn't fully understand the request yet, but she nods, solemnly. The boy then turns to Tidus and tells him, when this is over, the faith will stop dreaming, the dream will end. Tidus understands exactly what that means. Yuna didn't catch everything, but she reads both of their faces and feels something cold moving through her that she can't name. Tidus tells her, lightly, that there's nothing to worry about. He turns away before she can see his expression. The plan is set. They need to get inside Sin, either through its mouth or by cutting an opening from the outside, and they can use the hymn of the faith to slow Sin down and create a window. Shalinda has already helped spread the word across Spira via the network they built. When the airship plays the hymn, everyone is asked to sing along. It's the only signal they can give. There's no guarantee it works, but it's what they have. The moment arrives. The airship begins broadcasting the hymn of the faith. Sin appears. The party moves to the deck. From across all of Spira, from every direction, voices rise up and join the song. An entire world singing together. Under cover of that sound, the group attacks, breaking Sin's focus, creating the opening for the airship's main cannon to fire. Sin's left arm, then its right arm, both destroyed. Then a direct hit to the core structure on its back. Drained of power, Sin finally falls, crashing into the ocean near Bevel. Sin is suppressed, but Yuna's mind won't rest. The Faith's request keeps returning, summon all of the Aeons. In the final battle, if the Aeons are summoned and Yevon possesses them, it would mean destroying the companions who have fought alongside her this entire journey with her own hands. And if the dream ends, Tidus might disappear. Before Tidus can respond, Sin erupts from behind, a vast, luminous structure unfurling from its back, lifting it slowly into the sky. The main cannon isn't repaired yet. There's no long-range option. The only path is straight through. Without hesitation, the group climbs to the deck and steers the airship directly into Sin's mouth. Inside Sin, the group presses toward the core, toward Jecht, toward Yevon. They find Seymour one more time along the way. He greets them with pride, almost buoyant through sustained effort. He has managed to become part of Sin, a small achievement. A first step toward his dream of immortality. With the final summoning gone, and Sin now effectively undefeatable, he has infinite time ahead of him. Eventually, he is certain he will control Sin from within, replace it, become it. That is the destination. Tidus listens to this and concludes, the man has been absorbed into Sin and he's happy about it. He gives him a beating. Without pausing, Yuna begins the sending. This time, Seymour leaves behind a single bitter curse before the light takes him. Then he is gone. Through the impossible, shifting geometry of Sin's interior, the group finally reaches the end. A mechanized coliseum lit by blinding spotlights. At the center, Jecht. The father Tidus has been chasing since the beginning. He retained just enough of himself, just enough of his own mind, to hold on until his son arrived. He waited. 10 years apart. And perhaps this is the first real face-to-face meeting they've ever had. Tidus had imagined he would have so much to say, but Jecht's first words, gruff, unchanged, completely himself, still as scrawny as ever. You eating properly? And Tidus finds he has nothing left. Once we start fighting, I won't be myself anymore. Let's make it a good one. Light consumes Jecht. He roars, and transforms into the final Aeon, the same form he became for Braska 10 years ago. The party fights with everything. They bring him down. Jecht surfaces briefly, his own mind, his own voice, for just a moment. He looks at the son who is crying in front of him and can't stop crying, and Jecht scolds him in exactly the tone you'd expect. Rough, deflecting. Completely unable to say what he actually means. But Tidus understands him now. He finally understands. There is no time left. Jecht tells Yuna, summon, Yevon is coming. Unmoored from Jecht's body, Yevon appears, and begins taking the Aeons one by one, possessing them, trying to survive inside something strong enough to contain him. The party has no choice. They fight each Aeon as it falls under Yevon's control. Velefor, Ifrit, Ixion, Sheba, Bahamut. Every companion who has fought alongside them now turned against them. One by one, they bring them down. At last, Yevon is forced out into the open, reduced to his original form, something ancient and small and insect-like. When this root of 1,000 years of ruin is finally destroyed, the cycle of sin collapses completely. The spiral of death, at last, is broken. Auron, who has been holding himself together through sheer will since before any of them met him, calmly asks Yuna for the sending. He has been waiting for this. 10 years of waiting. He dissolves into points of light, quietly, without drama. Gone. Yuna's dance continues. For the Aeons, for Auron, for all the ones who stayed too long. Sin's enormous body splits and crumbles. A cascade of light and sound breaking apart, raining down across the sacred mountainside. The faith statues across the cliff walls, light drains from them. The dream, after 1,000 years, begins to dissolve. The millennium of sorrow and cursed repetition ends here, in this moment. But as the dream fades, Tidus's body begins to go with it. He looks down at his hands, turning transparent. He knows what this means. His last moment is here. Saying goodbye properly feels like too much. He tries for something lighter, something that doesn't make it worse. Yuna shakes her head. She runs toward him, arms open, and passes straight through. She stands with her back to him. Through her tears, she manages one word, thank you. Tidus wraps his arms around her from behind, as if he can still hold her, as if it's still real. For one more second, it feels like it is, but it ends. He steps back, looks out at his companions, at all of them. And then he runs, off the edge, out into the open sky, and falls. He dissolves into the current of pyroflies drifting below, carried away into the river of light. Somewhere in that light, his father is waiting. On the shore below, Yuna raises her fingers to her lips and whistles. No answer comes. And so Spira enters its first real calm, not temporary, not borrowed, not built on the death of a summoner. Permanent. Yuna, now a high summoner, stands before a crowd filling the Luka Blitzball Stadium and speaks. She declares the end of 1,000 years of fear. Sin is gone. The era of eternal calm has begun, and she asks all of them to remember the lives that were lost, the dreams that disappeared. Neither of those things should ever be forgotten. Final Fantasy X remains, to this day, one of the defining works of the JRPG genre. It is a landmark in the Final Fantasy series and a testament to what games can do as an artistic medium. Through the lens of mature storytelling, it tells a story about faith, lies, and the moment of waking up. We follow Tidus's perspective as it slowly dismantles Spira's reality, a world tormented by the cycle of sin, a society shackled to Yevon's doctrine, a people struggling in the grip of false hope. Tidus's arrival cracks all of it open. He gives the people around him, people who have lived their whole lives inside this system, a different angle from which to see it. Yuna and her companions move from blind faith to doubt to resistance, and finally to choosing, with full awareness of the cost, to confront the fear and find a real solution, ending a deception that had lasted 1,000 years. When truth collides with what we believe, do we have the courage to accept it? When we encounter a perspective completely unlike our own, do we dare step outside the walls we've built around our thinking? If changing things means paying a price, are you still willing to try? These aren't questions the game lectures you with. They're things you feel yourself, walking alongside these characters. The resonance is earned, not delivered. The story's power isn't in the grand philosophical questions it raises. It's in the small, precise moments of human feeling, the way the characters are drawn, the way their emotions breathe, that the story gets inside you. We cry at the parting of Tidus and Yuna. We're moved by the reconciliation of Jecht and his son. We're caught by Auron, the man who kept his promise for 10 years because that's simply who he is. And we feel something quiet and warm when the people of Spira step out from under Sin's shadow finally, and breathe. When the pyroflies gather into a river of stars. When Tidus, in the last moment before he disappears, holds Yuna one more time. When the melody rises, heartbreaking and beautiful. Every ending is not really an ending. The love left unfinished, the promises left unfulfilled, the roads left unwalked, all of it becomes something that carries you forward. Fuel. The ones who leave don't truly leave. They become the wind beneath your feet, the song in your ear, the courage in your fist when you tighten it. Not forgetting, but carrying their piece of it and writing the story longer. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.